It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Once a month or thereabouts on the Happy Families Podcast, we do a Doctor's Desk episode. This is the episode, Kylie, where we dive into the latest research. We talk about what's been found that can help parents to parent better, to raise happier, healthier kids. And I promise there is no gaslighting. There is no pressure. You don't have to do the stuff we're talking about, but we really do think that it will be helpful if you try at least some of it.
We have 3 big studies today, one about alcohol, one about digital switching, and another about how thank yous can go a long way.
Okay, I want to talk about the alcohol one first, especially since we're at that time of the year where everyone's starting to get excited about end of year. Summer is coming, there's BBQs, there's schoolies just around the corner for our Year 12 school leavers, many of whom are not yet 18. This is a conversation that I just think matters so very much. From the Herald Sun, a reporter by the name of Sarah Perillo wrote about underage drinking and how it's linked to violence and risky sexual behaviour. She says exposing teenagers to even small amounts of alcohol can lead to violent outbursts, risky sexual behaviour, and binge drinking. And this is the thing that really dragged me in. It comes as new data reveals just under half of Victorian teens, 48% of Victorian teens between 12 and 17 reported drinking alcohol in the last week obtained from their parents. So let me say that again. I'm not saying that half of teenagers 12 to 17 are drinking, but rather those who are, 48% of them are getting the grog from mum or dad.
I guess when I think back to my childhood specifically and my teenage years, I had cousins whose parents gave them alcohol because they actually thought that they were educating them on how to drink responsibly.
So this has been a myth that's been around for a long time. It's known in research circles as the Mediterranean effect, this idea that if you live in the Mediterranean nations that you somehow are inoculated against binge drinking and riotous alcohol-fueled parties and that kind of thing. The research doesn't support it, by the way. People in any of your Mediterranean nations, they still have alcohol challenges, some really significant ones. In fact, there's quite a bit of research here in Australia, really good research that shows that kids who are supplied alcohol by their parents are much more likely to be binge drinkers, much more likely to develop an alcohol use disorder, and much like when you give kids alcohol, it affects their brain, it affects their sleep. It affects their capacity to process emotions. It could affect how well they're performing in their chosen sport. Like if you're an elite athlete, the worst thing you can do as a kid is to be drinking alcohol. They'll find schoolwork harder. Their ability to regulate, all of these things are affected by alcohol. And this idea that if I give my kids alcohol, I'm going to teach them to drink responsibly. Research points in exactly the opposite direction. What it says is,
Mum and Dad endorse alcohol.
Mum and Dad are cool with it. Yeah, in fact, in this article in the Herald Sun from a couple of weeks ago, in fact, in this article from Sarah Perillo, she says that, quote, parents who supply are doing it with good intention. They're trying to teach their kids how to drink more responsibly, how to stay safe when they're drinking. But when parents supply alcohol, the kids are drinking more than they would have if they hadn't been given alcohol. Parental supply is still riskier than not at all. And she also cited some other research that shows that parental supply in 1 year increases the chance that the children will receive alcohol from non-parental sources the next year. If you give your kids alcohol, essentially what you're doing is you're saying it's okay to receive alcohol. And so therefore, if somebody else has the alcohol, instead of saying, oh, no, I'm not allowed or I don't, they're going to say, oh, mum and dad are cool with it. So yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing that really shocked me is that there is some research that shows that boys have their first alcoholic drink on average at the age of 10, with 1 in 5 drinking regularly by the time they're 14. By 17, 40% are binging on the booze, and 1 in 10 consumes more than 10 standard drinks in a single session. That's research from the Australian Institute of Family Studies.
Wow.
So the take-home message from this doctor's desk is, as we move into summer, as we move into party season, as we move into everyone chilling out a little bit, and around several parts of the country, daylight saving extends those afternoons and everyone just relaxes a bit more in the night. It may be tempting as a parent to give your kids some alcohol. Just don't. If they're under 18, the answer is no. We don't endorse it. We don't encourage it. We want you to be the designated driver if you're old enough to be driving. And if they're younger than driving age, we want them to just not participate, not drink, or at least understand that their parents do not encourage it and don't endorse it. Of course, blowing up at them if they do drink alcohol is not going to make things any better. But we've really got to make sure that we are on this. It's a really big challenge. And I don't think that these are the kinds of outcomes that we want to see for our kids, primarily because of all the risks associated with it.
Study number 2 is all about digital switching.
If you're bored, scrolling through online videos may actually make the problem worse. Researchers say digital switching, when you only watch snippets or fast forward through videos, leaves people less satisfied.
Yeah, this one really excited me. It caught my attention because it's paradoxical. Pulled me in. It's from the Journal of Experimental Psychology. It was just published in the last month or so by Tam and Inslick. And what they found is this. Obviously, boredom is unpleasant. People will go to great lengths to avoid being bored. And increasingly, in 2024, screens are the way that people are avoiding being bored. You look like you're about to yawn. You can't be bored this soon into my...
You're putting me to sleep.
Oh, come on. So what they've highlighted is that switching videos, YouTube, TikTok, fast forwarding through them is what they call digital switching. And they've hypothesized that people who consume media that way to avoid boredom will paradoxically have their boredom intensified. They've done 7 experiments, 1,223 people participating, and they've found a relationship between boredom and digital switching. Here's what they find. In study 1, when participants were bored, they switched. In study 2, they found that the reason for the switching was that people believed that switching would help them to avoid their boredom. They found in study 3 that switching between videos, and in study 4, and switching within the video or fast forwarding led not to less boredom, but to more boredom. It also reduced satisfaction, it reduced attention, and it lowered meaning. Even when participants had the freedom to watch videos of personal choice and interest on YouTube, digital switching, according to study 5, still intensified the boredom.
So what you're saying, to avoid boredom, just don't get on your phone?
Well, that's part of it, yes. But if you do, apparently you've got to watch the video to the end. Don't switch.
That's why I watch all the videos. You get so cranky at me.
I get cranky about screens generally. What my take-home message from this really is it's pretty simple. When you're on your device, you feel like you're resting, you feel like you're refreshing, you're rejuvenating or whatever, but you're not. Your brain is in this constant state of search, this constant state of amplification, this constant state of arousal, this constant state of alertness. And as a result, you are not resting, you are not relaxing. It's completely different when you pick up a book or when you just go and enjoy some green space. But when you start switching or when you start watching, you turn your brain on more rather than turning it off, and it makes things worse, not better. Get off the screen.
Doom scrolling. Get
off. That's exactly what it is. Even if you're watching fun TikToks, Insta Reels, or Facebook thingos, whatever they are. I've stopped social media, right? I've forgotten what they're called now.
I send you some really important stuff and you don't see any of it.
So important. What is it, like somebody shouting at the camera because something went wrong? Anyway, let's move on. Study number 3.
Thank yous go a long way.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No. Thank you for thanking me.
Thank you for thanking me for thanking you.
Research in one of my favorite journals. I've published research in the Journal of Positive Psychology. Some researchers at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I don't know if it's Urbana. Is that how you say it? They've done this really cool study with gratitude in families. They've recruited 593 people aged from 24 to 75, all of whom are parenting at least one child between 4 and 17 and who are in a romantic relationship. Essentially, what they've done is they've looked at perceived gratitude. Participants are providing ratings of how appreciated and valued they feel by their partners and children. Parents are also indicating how psychologically distressed they've felt during the last month, how overwhelmed they've been with parenting responsibilities. So that's different to psychological distress. That's parenting stress. and how satisfied they feel in their relationships. They've also answered some questions about family chaos or children's emotional and behavioural problems. Finding number one from this study, Kylie, it won't be any surprise to you. Results revealed that women felt much less valued and appreciated by both their romantic partners and their older children than men did.
Why do you think that is?
I have some ideas, but before I share my ideas, what do you think the answer would be?
You're hilarious. I just asked you a question. You're throwing it back at me.
That's exactly right.
Because
I appreciate your insights.
I think it is because as mums, we are more involved in our children's lives than the dads are, generally speaking.
And
we sacrifice more than the dads do on a day-to-day basis. I'm not suggesting that it's not.
Now, research would support you in that as much as some people would grate and chafe at that. Research would support that.
And as a result, when our kids are seemingly ungrateful for the time, energy, and sacrifice that we put into it, we take it to heart because for us as mums, they're our lives. Like everything we do is focused on them. An
example and then an insight. Dinner, to me, is the perfect example. You work really hard to provide a really nice meal and the kids look at it and say, I don't like it. And you don't get an expression of gratitude. Gee, Mum, even though I don't love this meal, I appreciate so much that you make the effort to give me food and nutrition and sustenance on a daily basis. You don't get that. You just say, I don't like it, right? That's what the kids do.
And then you get to a point like me who just stops cooking.
You're so tired of cooking, which devastates me because I love food and I love your cooking, and I find that anyway, we let's not get into that right now. But it's that lack of gratitude, and mums are highlighting it. I think a deeper part of this is psychologically, you become part of the furniture, right? And when anyone becomes habituated to something, that is, it's just always there and I take it for granted, there are going to be fewer expressions of gratitude. There's a really key finding here for any partner, any husband of a mum. And that is, say thank you. Find ways to express gratitude. If you walk in the house as tidy, say, I just appreciate so much what you've done today. If you've got iron clothing in the wardrobe, say, I know how much, and it's been, I'm assuming this has been done by your wife, right? Those expressions of gratitude matter because the research reveals that women feel much less valued and appreciated by both their romantic partners and their older children. Now, let's wrap this up. Here's the other thing that the research has found about gratitude and family. Similar to trends found in previous research, in this study, they found that a simple thank you, literally just those two words, a simple thank you, can go a long, long way in maintaining good relationships and good mental health. In the study, a sense of being appreciated by romantic partners was also associated with higher relationship satisfaction and lower psychological distress. Just knowing that your partner appreciates you makes you less psycho and feel safer and better in your relationship. Apologies if I was a little bit glib with that, but let's be honest, sometimes it's like that. Now, interestingly, doesn't reduce stress in parenting, doesn't reduce that stress of chaos and overwhelm, but it does just make you feel more comfortable and happier in your relationship, and it does make you feel more generally psychologically okay. The other thing that
if your wife is psycho,
say thank you. It's the hardest time to say it, right? Gratitude from children was also influential, with higher levels of gratitude from both younger and older children being associated with less parental stress, though appreciation from older children had more of an impact. I love this. If we can teach our kids to say thank you, if we can move our kids away from entitlement, if our children can express appreciation, especially to mum, there's going to be less parenting stress. Isn't that beautiful?
Well, thank you for sharing all of that information with me, Justin.
Oh, well, thank you for thanking me for sharing that information. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon for Bridge Media. If you would like, look at you laughing in the corner. If you would like more information about how to make your family happier, we'll link to these studies in the show notes. I'm sure some of you will find them fascinating and worth the read. Or you can visit us on our social media pages. Just don't switch too much and don't spend too much time there. Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families on Facebook and Instagram, or our website.
We just made someone vomit in their mouth.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Or happyfamilies.com.au.